Here is why you need to delay social media for your kids. The FTC just released a groundbreaking report about social media. The report is 129 pages. Who's going to read that? I am, and I did. The problem with social media is that what happens on there is shrouded in secrecy. It's dangerously opaque. We don't know, as parents, the reality of what's happening to kids and their data on these platforms. So the FTC ordered 9 of the largest social media companies to give us more information on how they operate. Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snap, ByteDance, Discord, Reddit, and WhatsApp. As a summary, these companies are using our personal data to serve hyper-granulated, targeted advertisements and powerful algorithms that shape the content we see with the goal of keeping us and our kids hooked. The potential harms that come from unfettered data collection practices are significant, and these practices pose unique risks to children and teens, which the companies have done little to respond to effectively. For the past couple of decades, we have believed that large tech companies should be trusted to establish adequate privacy standards and practices. This report makes clear that self-regulation has been a failure, as many of these firms pivot to developing and deploying AI while continuing to shroud their practices in secrecy and implement minimal safeguards to protect users. We must not continue to let the foxes guard the henhouse. So let's look super briefly at the 4 main findings. 1, many of these companies collect and retain so much data about users and even non-users in ways that we may not expect. They are collecting so much data that the tech companies themselves couldn't even identify all of the data points they collected or all the third parties they have shared our data with. And this data is used for lots of different purposes, including to advertise to us and to inform insanely smart, personalized algorithms that are used to keep us on the platform for as long as possible. These practices include children and teens, who are most often treated as adult users when it comes to data practices on social media. Number 2, many of these companies relied on selling advertising based largely on using our personal info. This is all happening under the surface, and users are not able to decipher how much info is collected, where it is shared, and what is being used for targeting. What we need to understand is that social media platforms are tracking our data and activity across many other apps and devices, not just on their own platforms on our main device. Number 3, users lack any meaningful control over how our personal info is being used for AI-fueled advertising and algorithms. There is currently no opt-out or opt-in feature given to us or to the children who use the platform. A lot of the harmful content is being served through the algorithm. This is why California just passed a law requiring the algorithm to be turned off by default for minors on social media. And federal legislation also includes the same standard. Imagine a world where we only see a chronological feed of content from people we follow. What a dream. And lastly, let's talk about kids. The companies are failing to protect children and teens. They bury their heads in the sand when it comes to kids using their services. Many of these companies state that they are only available to kids 13 and over. Some even saying that they have, quote, no child users. But it is well known that children and preteens use these platforms. In fact, 40% of kids age 8 to 12 use some form of social media. These companies use self-reported age gating, so there's no actual mechanism in place to stop a child from creating an account and lying about their age, exposing them to bullying, online harassment, child sexual exploitation, and inappropriate advertisements. It is estimated that some teenagers see as many as 1,260 ads per day, and they're often served ads that can be detrimental to their mental health. And when it comes to the algorithms, these companies rank user engagement over safety, which means harmful content, if it has a lot of views, will and is getting served to our children. Social media platforms are designed to maximize user engagement, which has the potential to encourage excessive use and behavioral dysregulation in children. Few of the companies reviewed offered parental controls to guide, limit, or monitor the kids' use of social media. In the absence of rules or laws that afford protections to teenagers' privacy in the digital world, many companies elected to treat teens just like adults. So basically, the world we live in is one in which we're giving away everything about ourselves to use platforms that make us and our kids feel terrible. Children and teens are particularly vulnerable, and these tech companies have failed to adequately protect them. This is a bad deal. I am grateful that there's been momentum in Congress and in the courts to give people, particularly children, back control over our data. But we can't wait. We have to act now before more children are harmed. Legislators should look to the informed recommendations that the FTC lays out in their report. And parents, with the lack of legislation to protect our kids, we must delay their social media use until at least 16, paired with open conversations and collective action among their peer groups.